Well, hello, and welcome to Spoiler Piece Theater, the podcast that doesn't give a shit about spoilers. We just want to talk about the movies. My name is Dave Riedel. I write about movies. My pronouns are he, him. I'm a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association.
My name is Evan Crean. I am co-chair of the Boston Online Film Critics Association, co-author of your 80s Movie Guide to Better Living, co-host of the It's the Pictures podcast, and my pronouns are he, him.
And my name is Megan Kearns. My pronouns are she, her. I write film reviews for Edge Media Network. I'm a co-host of the Slashers podcast. I, too, am a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association and am a member of Gallica, the Society of LGBTQ Entertainment Critics.
Yes, indeedy. And welcome back to Spoiler Piece. On this show, this week, we've got so much to talk about. But first, before we talk about all that other stuff we're supposed to talk about, let's talk about the thing that we talk about over on Patreon. I'm going to say talk about one more time. Talk about. To honor the late, great Shelley Duvall, we talked about the 1977 Robert Altman film, Three Women. Unfortunately, because of internet problems, Megan was not able to join us, but she's got 2 out of 3. She's solo on 2 movies tonight. It's a big night for Megan. Everyone give a big round of applause for Megan Kearns, your big chance. She's going to be talking about Dr. Jekyll and Sing Sing, and then all 3 of us will be talking about what's the one we're all talking about?
Peak season.
Peak season. Because when I asked you that, the reason I asked is because in my head I heard it as peach season, and I was like, I can't say peach season on the mic, just too much.
Now I want some peaches.
Yeah, I know. I'm kind of like that.
Peaches,
so anyway,
like, isn't that song? The Jack
there's
Black
a song by the
Bowser
Presidents
song?
of the United States of America. Oh,
No.
yeah, right.
Yes.
The peaches. He's like singing the love song to Princess Peach. Anyway, I digress.
Well, Megan's going to kick it off tonight for us to talk about Dr. Jekyll. This is a new updated version of The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. It stars Eddie Izzard, Scott Chambers. It is directed by Joe Stevenson. And here is your one-sentence IMDb summary. You know, in honor of you doing this by yourself, I should have gotten the press notes, but I didn't. I'm sorry.
I was
IMDb
like, I have
one-sentence
them up.
summary.
Just in cases.
A modern reimagining of the infamous Dr. Jekyll from Robert Louis Stevenson's 1886 novella, The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I just came up with that in the top of my head like 30 seconds ago, and it was exactly the same thing. These people are terrible at their jobs. That's all I'm going to say.
I was going to say, a lot of them are user contributed, so it's just people being terrible users.
Oh, okay.
Exactly.
That makes more
because
sense.
that is not the press release synopsis.
Very good. Very good. Well, Megan, why don't you take it away and tell us what you thought?
Yeah, so you saw the first
That
Dave,
good, huh?
Yeah, you saw the first 20 minutes. I'm so curious what you think happened just based on that. But I can share.
I mean, it seems like aside from the contemporary setting and a former inmate becoming Dr. Jekyll's caretaker, a relatively not all that weird updating thus far.
Yeah.
I did want to slap the kid who played the inmate across the face for being a dope because, like, just speak, dude. The fuck? But anyway, this is your big moment to shine. So what did you think?
Oh, my big moment. Yeah. That is Scott Chambers, who's playing Rob for Robert Louis Stevenson. That is his character's name. Yeah. It was like, ooh, little too on the nose, perhaps. But yeah, so Rob is a former, he was formerly incarcerated, and his brother gets him an interview with Dr. Nina Jekyll, who has been reclusive and has an injury on her leg, and she walks with a cane, and she needs some help in her home. And so he goes and he interviews, and Nina's assistant, who's very stern and very strict, she's like, oh my God, you're your past, your record. This is appalling. We can't hire you. And Nina is like, whoa, wait a minute. No problem. We'll hire you. And so that's kind of what happens throughout much of the film is that Nina, who is portrayed by Eddie Izzard, will give Rob things to do, like tasks to do. Like, for instance, she tells him, I want you to test all the sensors in the house. And if they don't work, I want you to change the batteries. And I want you to come up with a password for the alarm system. And so he's like, okay, I can do that. And so he checks all the sensors, changes batteries, comes up with a password, and Nina gives him a gold watch. And I'm not quite sure why, but just does, just like, hey, here you go. And then her assistant like flips out and is like, you changed the password and now you have a watch and you're stealing, you're fired. And so she kicks him out. And then very soon after, Nina's like, no. I did tell him these things. Like, no, please come back. And so there's a lot of like back and forth like this throughout the film. A lot of kind of, I felt like spinning its gears, and I feel like it thinks it's setting things up. And I guess it sort of does. But then Rob has a run-in with his ex, who is still on drugs and is running around with an unsavory crowd and like stealing things. And she wants him to let her and her crew in so they can pull a big job stealing from Nina. And he's like, no, I'm not going to do that. And then later she has the crew she's running with beat him up and they get into the house. But meanwhile, Nina is like, I need you to help me. And she's basically tricked Rob into helping her stab herself. Like, she stabs herself and she tells him before she does this, she's like, I have this affliction that my uncle had, and it makes you evil, and it takes away all your humanity, and it has to be killed. I have to kill it. And so she stabs herself, and then like he finishes the stabbing, and that's when his ex-girlfriend like walks in and is like, I can't believe you killed her. And then they're trying to steal from Nina, and then she comes back quote unquote from the dead. She didn't really die. They just thought she died. And lo and behold, she then slits his ex's throat because it's not really Nina Jekyll. It's really, I can't remember. Susan Hyde, I think, is her name. So it's really Hyde all along. And Hyde has been planning this all along. And the way you know it's Hyde is she smokes and she says the phrase, I'm always 2 steps ahead of everyone. And she plays chess, which apparently Nina does not do. So then she reveals that one of the masked henchmen that Rob's ex was running around with, it's his brother who set up the whole thing. And then she kills him too. And yeah, so basically then Rob and Susan Hyde are talking, and she makes a deal with him, and she's like, I have all this incriminating evidence against you, and if you don't agree to this contract, I'm going to unleash it all, and it's going to look like you murdered people, and you'll be incarcerated again, and you're going to lose your daughter. And because that's the whole reason he's doing this job, is for his estranged daughter. And then she's like, but if you agree to this contract, I get to take over your body because this body is wounded and I want your body. So he agrees.
I wasn't expecting that part.
Yeah. Okay. So he agrees to do that. And then in order to take the drugs that allow this to happen, it's basically a drag on a cigarette that has a green light instead of a red light. And he does this, and yes, and then she takes over his body, and then it fasts forward to where he's in an interview with someone on TV, and basically like stocks have gone through the roof in his company, and you find out his daughter died from cancer, and Yeah, but he's like not fazed by it. He's like, oh, yeah, that was a tragedy. That was really sad. And then he says the phrase.
It is really sad.
I know. And he says the phrase like, you have to be, because the guy interviewing him is like, oh, I hear you say the phrase, you have to be 2 steps ahead. And he's like, why just be 2 steps ahead when you can be 3 steps ahead? And he like giggles maniacally. And that's how it ends. So
sounds kind of stupid.
Yeah. I was not impressed with this, and I didn't enjoy this. I found this, unfortunately, really tedious. And it was
like it.
Yeah, and it was advertised as being like really gothic and campy. And I feel like I wish it had been. I wish it had really like leaned into the camp. And I feel like Eddie Izzard is kind of doing it. Like she's kind of sort of hamming it up with her performance, but I feel like it needed to go harder in the campy realm. And I will say there's some great shots of shadows, and some of the lighting choices are really well done. So I liked some of the visuals, and I liked Eddie Izzard. She's great. But I just needed more camp. And unfortunately, the other performances are not good, and the writing's not great. And it's all, like I said, it's all kind of spinning its wheels to just build to something is kind of surprising, but doesn't really feel like an effective payoff. And I guess, considering that Eddie Izzard, sometimes she goes by Susie Eddie Izzard, considering she's a trans woman and the actor who plays Rob is a gay man, I guess I was expecting some more kind of inherent queerness or kind of more exploration of trans issues, kind of in the way, I guess, because this is done by Hammer Horror, also the way Dr. Jekyll and Sister Hyde was. So I guess I was expecting a little more transness, more queerness, but arguably it's inherently queer and trans just by having, those actors portray those roles. And she does change bodies. So there is, I guess a trans element there, sort of. But anyway, I guess I just wanted more from it. So it left me yearning for more.
That is a bummer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it sounded good. It sounded very intriguing.
It did sound promising on paper. It's sad that it didn't deliver.
Yeah.
On paper. I feel that's like the title of a lot of things lately, or should be.
I mean, yeah. A lot of the stuff I feel like we like really hate on this show. Usually we watched it because it sounded promising on paper and then just completely squandered whatever good ideas or opportunities it had.
The Blue Rose.
Yeah, that one's going to be an example for a while, I think.
Yeah. On how many blue roses on the Blue Rose scale? 1 through 5. No.
It's not Blue Rose bad. Trust me. It is not. Yeah. It's not that bad.
It didn't sound that bad. It also...
No, it's not bad.
It kind of just sounded like, what was the point?
Yeah. I kind of felt like this is very forgettable. This is very milquetoast. Like, I'm like, why am I watching this when it should be, if it's campy gothic, like if that's what they're going for, if that's the vibe, it should be full tilt. It should be really colorful, both literally and metaphorically. It should be really engaging and striking. And it's just not, sadly. But it's fine. Like it's all right. Like it's not terrible by any means.
You can't win them all, Dr. Jekyll. All right.
No.
Well, do you have any final thoughts, or shall we move on to Sing Sing?
No, we can move on to Sing Sing.
Then let's move on to Sing Sing. Hey, Sing Sing. This is not a movie about animals that sing.
That's
I don't know if Sing
movie
is, by the way. This is a drama starring Coleman Domingo, Clarence Macklin. This is directed by Greg Quater. This is your one-sentence IMDb summary. Divine G, imprisoned at Sing Sing for a crime he didn't commit, finds purpose by acting in a theater group alongside other incarcerated men in this story of resilience, humanity, and the transformative power of art. Well, I'm already uplifted, I have to say. But Megan, why don't you take it away?
Yeah, that's the very accurate description, because that does come almost word for word from A24's press release. But yeah, so I will just start before even getting into the summary. I absolutely adored this. And I was primed to adore this because I absolutely adore Coleman Domingo. I think he is such an excellent, phenomenal, magnetic, charismatic actor. Everything he's in, he always infuses the performance with his magnetism. He always gives a very complex, layered performance, and here is absolutely no exception. This is just, it's a phenomenal performance. I love it. And this is a great film. And I just came from the screening of seeing it, so it's very fresh in my mind. I cried a lot throughout the film. It's extremely moving. It's very funny, which I wasn't expecting, which was lovely. And it's a very poignant film. So yes, so Coleman Domingo is incarcerated for a crime he didn't commit. And you don't really learn a ton about the inmates. You learn like snippets here and there, and you learn that about him later as he's working on his clemency appeal, because there's like new evidence that he got a hold of or was able to obtain, proving that he did not commit this crime. And he is on the steering committee for an acting program where the inmates put on a production. And when the film opens, he is on stage performing in Midsummer Night's Dream. And they often do Shakespeare productions. And so this is a new season. They're going to do a new, they're deciding what the next play is going to be. And Paul Raci is in it, and he is their director. And he is playing the real life person, Brent Buell, who is a playwright and would direct these productions. And so he's like, okay, what do you guys want to do next? And they have a new guy who has come in, and he is, his name is Divine I. And he was recruited sort of by Coleman Domingo's character, Divine G. And this guy is very, very hardcore. He's a hard ass. He's very tough. He gives other inmates a hard time. But he applied for this program, and when they talk to him as kind of like an introductory conversation, he's quoting King Lear, and Divine G's best friend Mike is like, I can't believe he just quoted like King Lear like it was nothing. And like, because he was talking about when they ask him why he wants to be a part of the program, he's like, oh, well, I picked up this book. And, I saw this quote, and he's like quoting King Lear, and he's like talking about how impactful it was. And so he does become a part of the program, but he's very reticent to do some of the activities and to kind of open up about himself and be vulnerable. But really through Divine G's guidance and his tenderness and his gentle demeanor, he eventually does open up. And he has a conversation with him, and he's like, this is all some of these guys have. You can't take this away from them. And because he's like coming in with a knife in his belt because he's like clearly very like doesn't want to be caught off guard, thinks he always has to be on. And there really are these moments of incredible vulnerability where the men open up, and Paul Raci has them doing exercises where like, he's like, think of your absolute favorite place, the most special place to you, and, picture it, imagine it, smell it. And then he asks them like what that is, and they go around the room and they talk about it. And one of the guys says, the place here, talking about the camaraderie with these guys. And it's such a tender moment. It's so sweet. And Paul Raci's character, Brent, says, he's like, men we don't really get to be vulnerable and open up like this. And it's so important to be in touch with our emotions and to do this. And that's really what the film is so much about, is about being vulnerable with each other. And it is about art as salvation, like that synopsis was talking about. And it absolutely is that. It's also so much about retaining your dignity and your humanity in a place that is constantly trying to tear down your humanity and trying to dehumanize you. Because we see these little moments where Divine G is in his cell, and these cells are the tiniest cells I've ever seen. And, you know, the COs will come in and just like do like a room check and like tear the room apart. And he's a writer. And so he'll have like all of he has a typewriter and he has his writing, and like all of it will just be in disarray. And it's just these little moments. You don't see much of the inmates' lives outside of the play, outside of the rehearsals, outside of the, you know, reading the lines and everything. But you do get those little moments that just show how terrible it is. But you also get these moments of beauty. Like you see Divine G in the beginning, and he's feeding ducks, like, and he's looking at birds, and he has a spot in the prison where he can look out and see the sky. And it's just like those lovely little moments, but it's so tragic that he has to find those moments. He has to. And so the play is going on, and they decide to do this original play. I should have mentioned that. They want to do a comedy, but some of the guys want to do a Western, and some of the guys want to do a Roman gladiatorial games, and other guys want to do sci-fi. And so they end up doing this weird time travel play about finding a mummy. And so it has all these genres, all these characters mixed in. It's got Freddy Krueger, it's got Hamlet, like it's just kind of wild. But that elicits a lot of humor, and it is really funny. But as the film goes on, Mike, Divine G's best friend in the prison, he dies due to a brain aneurysm, and his appeal doesn't get accepted, and he just reaches his breaking point, and it leads to this really, really sorrowful moment where he just breaks down and is just so angry at everything, because he's been this source of light and joy and hope and positivity for everyone else. And it's just the weight of it has just gotten to him. But it doesn't end there, and it keeps going, and we see the play and we see the men bond, and it's just, it's a beautiful, beautiful, lovely film. And I've been raving about Coleman Domingo, and he's wonderful, but so are the entire cast is wonderful. And most of them are playing themselves. Most of them are or were incarcerated. And so that's lovely that they're bringing this authenticity to their roles. And I saw an interview with Coleman Domingo on, of all places, Bravo's Watch What Happens Live. And he was talking, and he said, because recidivism rates are very high for people who are incarcerated. And he said that the men who do this program, this acting program, I think the recidivism rate, it's drastically reduced, but it's something like 3%. Like it's tiny compared to what normal recidivism rates are. And it really gives them something to focus on and, to live for while they're there, and kind of keep them sane. And so this film very much reminded me of kind of a merging of like Station 11 with the acting, and how theater is, so much about salvation, as well as kind of like a Shawshank Redemption, of course, like prison and friendship. But it's much more complex than that. But anyway, I thought it was incredible, and I loved it.
Very cool. I had wanted to see this, and I was kind of bummed out that I couldn't. So I like me some Coleman Domingo. I like some Paul Raci. All sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah. Paul Raci is phenomenal again. He's wonderful. I definitely recommend this. And the guy who plays Divine Eye, Clarence Macklin, well, he's playing himself essentially, because Divine Eye is like his nickname. He's great too. So yeah, I definitely recommend that you check it out when you can.
Okay. Sounds really good.
I will check it out. Certainly for awards season, if not before. And all right then, and if you're all wrapped up there, let us move on to the movie we've all actually seen. We have all seen Peak Season. So let me read you the. I was actually almost about to read the Sing Sing description again. Whoops. Peak Season, written and directed by Stephen Kantner and Henry Lovener, starring Claudia Restrepo, Derek Joseph DeBlasis, and Ben Coleman, an emotionally adrift young woman forges an unexpected friendship with a wilderness guide when she and her fiance take a summer holiday in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Like you do. So I can't tell you how many times I've formed unexpected friendships and or partnerships with wilderness guides in and around Jackson Hole, Wyoming. I mean, that description is basically, there's not much more to it than that. It's, a lot of scenes of people talking in rooms or on a mountainside or while they're having drinks or whatever. And the woman's fiance, Amy is her name. He's always like screaming because he's got this high pressure job that interrupts their conversations I thought it was just kind of funny how, if you've ever been around somebody who's got a high stress job and cannot concentrate on you because they're always got somebody beeping in their ear, it reminded me of that. Anyway, that's basically it. The fiance, they're in Jackson Hole. They're there for a visit. The fiance hires Lauren is the guy's name, to do like a fly fishing tour for them. The fiance has to go work, so Amy and Lauren go there by themselves. They become friendly and they see each over the next course a couple days while the fiance has to go back to work in New York. And then the sparks kind of fly. But their romance is not quite, it can't be because of things like got to move back to New York, things like that. What did everyone think? Evan, why don't you start us off?
I enjoyed this. It's kind of slight. It has a kind of I don't know, lackadaisical pacing. It just kind of goes along. I was kind of surprised because I was like, oh, it's like an hour and 22 minutes, and then I was like, this last like 22 minutes seems like it's really kind of stretching, and I was kind of surprised how quickly then we got to the end and things were just over. But I liked the performances. I liked the chemistry between the leads. I was kind of surprised that it seemed like they were kind of setting up Max, the fiance, to be like really shitty. Like he was like a cheater or just not right at all for her. And it seems like maybe he's not right for her, but she kind of at the end is like, well, I can't stay here. And Lauren, you're never going to leave. So sucks. It's been fun. Bye.
Yeah. I should have mentioned that Lauren has been living in Jackson Hole he said he moved there when he was 20, and now I guess he's about 35. And he tried to move to Minneapolis with a girlfriend once, and it didn't work out. And so he's back in Jackson Hole. And Amy is just sort of adrift. She's between jobs. She had a big, high-powered job, and she was laid off. I think she's laid off, right? And she's got another...
Sounds like she quit.
Yeah, I thought she quit.
Yeah, it seemed like she quit.
Because she was burned out. Yeah.
That's right. She does say that she's burned out. So she's been offered another job, which is equally high stress, and she doesn't want to take it. And she sort of falls in love with Jackson Hole and by extension Lauren, I think, or Lauren she falls in love with and by extension Jackson Hole. I don't know. Whatever you want to say.
I think that's an important distinction though. And I think we can debate that.
Lay it on me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that she's sort of seduced by the I don't know how the impermanence of what Lauren does, because he's also, in addition to be a fly fishing guide, he's also a rock climbing guide and a landscaper, and he works in a restaurant kitchen, and he lives in his car, and he's got a very sweet dog named Dorothy. Dorothy, pardon me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that she's attracted to him for a few reasons. I mean, I think he just seems like a nice guy, and I think they have fun together and they have a good rapport. Like, I feel like they can joke together in a way that she can't really joke with Max, her fiance. Like, they have their own thing that they do, a weird thing where they do like a voice when they refer to themselves in the third person.
Which is kind of funny.
It is kind of funny. They're kind of like narrating their own lives as they're happening. But their relationship is just very different. And I think that she doesn't feel pressure with him. in the way that she does with Max. And I think that's a very attractive quality, because with Max, you know, he comes with expectations, like his family is really wealthy, and you know, the mom has a very specific plan for the wedding or specific venues, or she's reading through emails later with like registry suggestions, and like everything on the registry is like, you know, $800 plus.
Yeah, it was. I've been to those weddings, let me tell you.
Yeah, that's nuts. So I think there's a few reasons why she's drawn to him, and I think they ultimately have good chemistry. I think it's sad that she ends up getting on the plane and going home with Ben. Or sorry, not Ben. Max. I was just looking at the actor's name. His name is Ben Coleman. I think it's kind of sad that that's kind of how it ends. Is like, you know, you have Lauren is like fishing and then sees a plane fly over, and we're assuming that that's her plane. But you know, I guess that's life. Sometimes relationships are good in the short term and don't have, you know, what it takes to be a long-term relationship.
Yeah,
I don't think that at all.
Ooh, let's hear it.
I don't think it's so much that it's not that relationship is just that it wouldn't have worked necessarily in the long term. I think there's a very key component as to why she does not stay and why she leaves. Because I think, Evan, you're right that she clearly has a connection with Max, her fiance. However, you know, imperfect it is. And I don't think I agree with something you said. You said, you know, that he might not be the right guy, but I agree with you. He's not a complete shithead, because he does care about her. Because at the airport, he's like, "Oh, are you all right? Is there anything I can do?" Like, he definitely cares about her, which is lovely to see. And when he pays Lauren for the week, like, it's kind of like icky, but you know, that he's paying because they had this connection. But at the same time, like, in his mind, that's what you do. You like reward someone, like, and you pay.
Right.
So he
in his
business. Right. So in his mind, he's like doing like a good thing. But I don't think it's so much a matter of like their relationship, if they pursued it, wouldn't work. I think it's the fact, and this is something that she says, something about money comes up, and she's like, "I'm not well off. I'm around people that are rich and very well off." And she talks about her experience having immigrant parents. I think that's the key. I think as much as she loves New York, and yes, she does love Max, I think I agree with you that she does find, you know, kind of a transient lifestyle like very appealing, the kind of free-spiritedness of it. But I think more than anything, she feels like she owes it to her parents, because they sacrificed so much for her, that she can't just up and leave, that she can't just do what he's doing, no matter how much she wants to, or no matter how much she wants to be with him. I think that she would feel like she's betraying them. So I think the fact that her parents are immigrants and that she is Latina, I think that's a huge, huge piece of it. Not just the fact that she's like, "Well, you're going to stay here and never leave." Like, I don't know. I mean, that's part of it, but I think the immigrant perspective, a child of an immigrant parents, is the linchpin for her.
I think you're both right. I mean, I think that you can look at it through. Well, this is another one of those things. It's like, it's a relationship, right? And you don't really know what's going on in her head specifically. So it could totally be the immigrant thing. You know, don't want to let my parents down. It could totally be like, well, I think it's more of a just. I think, frankly, that she is the kind of person who, she seems really able to key into personalities, not in a way that she's like losing herself, but she's able to, you know, be Max's partner in the kind of funny thing that they do. And she's able to be more easygoing is not the right word, because I actually wouldn't describe Lauren as easygoing, but
no,
he's a big fucking bundle of anxiety is what he is.
Yes, he is, who's self-medicating.
Yeah. But I think she's like adaptable to the situation she's in. Not, like I said, not like she's losing herself, because she does push back against Lauren when his pal is going to like move back to Michigan, and you know, she actually says, "Well, I'm just going to play devil's advocate here for a minute." And I don't think she is playing devil's advocate. I think she believes what she's saying. you know?
Absolutely. And it's no longer about his friend. It's the two of them and talking about themselves. Yeah.
And that's where I think the whole I don't want to give up on my parents thing works in, but also like maybe her mentality is like it's more like she's not, you know, like a Lauren kind of person. She's not like a Max person. She's some sort of nebulous thing. And I think that the burnout and all of those things would actually be what wouldn't ultimately make a relationship work with either of them. Because she's in a place in her life where she's just fucking spinning her wheels going nuts. So that's my opinion. The correct opinion, I might add. Sorry, I cracked myself up there.
I'm glad you cracked yourself up.
No, but I mean, it's you know, I think that I think that all three of us like kind of hit on different things the right way, you know? I had said to Evan off mic that I really wanted to get your opinion of this. I was really interested to hear your opinion because I know that Evan doesn't like stories where possible is suspect of stories where infidelity is a big piece of the plot.
Yeah, so I usually recoil at those stories too.
Yeah.
But not this one. I fucking loved it.
Yeah. I absolutely loved every minute of this. Yeah.
I loved the shit out of this. I'm like, could this movie have been made more for me? I don't know. That's
how I felt too.
Right? Like from the hiking and from the beautiful landscapes of Jackson Hole. And I've never been to Wyoming, but Jackson is very much on my list of places to go to. And then to their oh my God, when she brings the shirt back to him, that whole scene, I rewatched that. I rewound it and watched it again. And I easily could have watched it another 3 or 4 times.
How broken up she is about it.
Yes. Yeah. And they're like, everything's been building to that moment and they just both kind of like let it all out and lay it on the table. And from their kiss to the way she hugs him and she like buries her face in his chest and the way he like wraps his hand around her neck and her body. It's all extremely intimate and just wrenching. And I'm sobbing the whole time. And you said it was very sad, Evan, and it was. And you know, it felt very realistic, the ending, but part of me is like, just stay in Jackson, goddammit. Like, don't leave. But yeah, no, I loved this. I absolutely loved this.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if she should stay in Jackson, but I also don't know whether she should go back and marry Max.
Right.
You know?
I kind of think she shouldn't do either, actually.
Because I like Evan, I thought that they were going to turn Max into a giant asshole, but he's just like,
me too.
This is just how he is, and he's not an asshole. He's actually a decent human, which was really nice that there's really no villain in this movie, by the way.
Yeah, maybe a little too obsessed with work.
Maybe.
And the pressures of work.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was pleasantly surprised that they didn't make him into. I thought for sure like he's gonna leave and we're gonna find out he was like cheating or he didn't leave and it was just spending time with that childhood friend of his and something. And then when that didn't happen, I was like, oh wow, okay, well, yeah, it certainly makes things more interesting that she decides to stick with him and go home and.
Well, spoiler piece listeners, I just want to say that if you are ever looking for a movie that I would absolutely love, just any movie like this that was completely tailor-made for me, please send those recommendations my way.
I was like, then
I can't. Yeah.
I was going to say, did you watch Past Lives?
I don't think so.
Oh, you need to see Past Lives then because there's a lot of similarities.
You would like Past Lives.
Yes. There's a lot of similarities thematically.
You know what this reminded me of a lot? Is Cha-Cha Real Smooth.
I love Cha-Cha Real Smooth too. Yeah, no, very much so. Very much so. Especially like kind of like looking for your place in life and kind of like feeling like you're lost and don't know where to go. Yeah.
And having someone else you're smoldering for, but not Dakota Johnson in this case.
Right.
Yes.
But only one of these movies has Flo from Progressive in it, and that's this
right.
one.
Yes, and Fred Melamed.
Yeah. I love their scene. I love him when he shows up.
He's great. He is great.
Him wearing that cowboy hat was pretty great.
Oh, it was
priceless.
I would have actually enjoyed if they showed up in another scene or two, because I wanted to see more of that pair.
Me too. Just like one more scene.
Right. Yeah. Just, I don't know. I think they did such a good job of playing kind of like the city folk who are, living out there, what do they say, 6 months and 1 day out of the year for tax purposes.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. I know. I kind of wanted more of them and less of the childhood friend.
Yeah. I mean, if there was one thing that I could have done with a little less of, it was her. But at the same time, I mean, she was fine.
Right.
Yeah, no, she was fine. I just didn't need that scene of her photo shoot with the cows, but
yeah, that was
that was a little strange that was included. Although I thought it was effective, the dinner scene that they had where it was like she was just talking at her and then she's like, I'm gonna call it an early night, and then just wanders across the street to the bar. I thought that was a great opportunity for both her to run into Lauren and to also save Lauren from that guy that was being weird.
The
customer of his who thought they were too friendly.
Yes. Well, it's pretty fucking great peak season. So
yeah, no, I really liked it a lot. I liked the performances. I liked their rapport. I feel like we got to know, I don't want to say everything, but kind of everything we needed to know about Lauren right from the first 5 minutes of the film, which was great, just from his routine. Kind of the same with Amy too. Like I feel like we get a sense of who she is very early on. So yeah, I really liked that too. Yeah. And I like how she keeps they keep both inviting each other out to things. And there is just such an ease between them. And you're right, Evan, you said this, and I think you're completely spot on, that there's just no pressure between them when her life in New York is all pressure, like from the high pressure job to the high pressure, mother-in-law, and to, the high pressure of Max and his job, and that kind of trickling, over energy-wise to her. Yeah, so.
But this is just great. Just thinking about it. Jeez.
I know, it is so stressful.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, but I could have.
And you were also.
Oh, yes.
I was going to say, I think you were also raising another great point. Something this movie does extremely well is that it shows and doesn't tell you about the characters.
Yes.
We don't have to hear dialogue about, Lauren, like, you're such a free spirit and a weirdo and you're crazy and you jump off cliffs or whatever. It's just like, or Amy, you're so type A, like you totally like schedule everything. You know how in rom-coms, there are always people who describe the characters to you.
Yes.
And thankfully they don't do that at all here. We're just watching them go through life and learning who they are based on what we see them do and how they interact with the world.
Absolutely. Yeah, I could have hung out with them longer. But maybe that's the whole point, is to,
That's actually a really good point. I hadn't thought of that at all, because I was about to say, it's like, I don't know if there was enough story to hang out with them more, but then you're like, it's like, that's where it ends. So
yeah.
I mean, there could have been. I feel like if the movie was a little more briskly paced, then I would say, yes, let's get more adventures with these two.
See, I know I totally know what you're saying, Evan, and I knew that would, I don't want to say irk you, but that would be a point of where it could improve. Yeah. And I really loved the languorous pace. Like, to me, because it's taking place around the 4th of July, and it kind of, mirrors the laid back pace of Lauren's lifestyle. So, and of the town in general. So yeah, I was totally digging it, but I can see it's not for everyone.
I think I felt it the worst in the last 20-30 minutes of the movie. I don't feel like I was doing too badly, and then I think I had to pause it because I had to get up for something, and then I saw that I still had a half hour left, and I'm like, oh no. And then watching the rest of the half hour, I was like, really, this is going by slow.
But so much happens in that last half hour.
Oh, it's eventful for sure.
Yeah. Well,
ooh,
Cha-Cha Real Smooth was great. No.
I mean, it was.
Yeah. No, I don't really have anything else to say. I just think that it's interesting that it's not interesting to anybody but me that the kinds of movies I like the most are long movies where nothing happens, and then short movies where lots of things happened, but in a very sort of like low key kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
So, because this is, definitely it's a vibe. It's not a,
Yeah, it's a very subtle movie.
Yeah. Exactement. So.
Yeah, but I like that it's so subtle, but it's dealing with these really intense themes of, of love and, existentialism. Like, what am I going to do with my life? And is this the right path? And yeah.
And also forgot to mention that Lauren has that shoulder injury, which is probably going to prevent him from doing some of the touring jobs that he needs to do to make money. So
that's a great point.
Another thing to bring up, which I had kind of forgotten about. And I'm like, wait, what's he doing in physical therapy? Ooh, that looks like it hurt, which I'm sure it did. I've injured my shoulder before. It sucks.
He was trying to do the exercises more. He was watching the video on his phone of how to do it and using the elastic thing on his car. So he was trying to do better than the sheepish 2 days a week he'd been admitted to doing the exercises.
Yeah, that's true. It's true. Well, do we have anything else we want to say about what is this called again? Peak season?
Peak season. I keep wanting to call it happiest season.
You want to call it happiest season?
Yeah. I don't know why.
Isn't that the Christmas movie?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is. I actually, it's kind of funny. Sorry, I do have one more thing I wanted to add, because in some ways I feel like this movie is kind of similar to the like vibe of like the Hallmark Christmas movie, but without the Christmas, where you kind of have like, she's not like going home to her hometown, but she's going to like the small town and meets the like handsome, kind of like rugged, outdoorsy guy. Who's like,
wow.
I am sure the creative team behind Peak Season would love to hear that.
They'll be thrilled to hear that.
Wow.
On the bright side of that, I have seen some charming, I don't know if they were Hallmark or Lifetime. I don't know, because they both do their holiday movies, but yeah. But there is a coziness to them, and there is kind of a cozy vibe going on here.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at.
Yeah.
Aside from the overlapping kind of like, character arcs.
Yeah, but definitely I would say there's much better filmmaking here.
Of course.
Yeah. Like better sound design, better cinematography, better acting, better writing.
Right. No, exactly. It's not like as I hate to use the word disposable, but it's the best I can think of to describe those kinds of movies. Versus this does not have that quality of like you chew it up and spit it out kind of thing.
Although there is. Oh yes, go ahead.
I was just going to say it's definitely totally appropriate to say those movies are disposable. You know why? Because there are 400,000 of them.
Except there is one, and I don't know if it's from Lifetime or Hallmark, but it is a lesbian one, and it is phenomenal, and I love it, and
what's
I can't wait to watch it again.
Remember?
I can't remember, but it's about a Christmas tree farm. Like, it's about a woman who has a tree and they want to use it for the town or something, and these two women fall in love, and anyway, it's about a tree. If anyone wants to know, I'll find out. But it is a love. Like, I was surprised at how delightful this film was.
Well, this is going to be my Google search later. Lesbian Hallmark Christmas tree film.
Yes.
There you go.
It's lovely. But the film that I was reminded of, besides Past Lives, which, Dave, you need to watch that immediately. It also reminded me of A Love Song with Dale Dickey and Wes Studi. And that and that also has like, that's a camping vibe, by a lake, and it's very low key, but so many emotions are happening, and kind of some similarities. So anyway, clearly this is also the kind of vibe I love too. This is in my wheelhouse. Thwarted love is always in my wheelhouse.
Thwarted love. I hardly knew ye.
Tortured souls, thwarted love, all that.
Okay, gang. Well, let's recap Megan's two big ones tonight. I think it's safe to say that Dr. Jekyll's a pass.
Yeah, unfortunately. Eddie Izzard is good, but yeah, I would say it's a pass, unfortunately.
But Sing Sing, you're all in on.
Yes, I would definitely recommend Sing Sing.
Okay,
yes.
Very cool. Yes, Sing Sing. Mm-hmm. Peak season. Yes, for me.
Yes, for me.
Yes, adjacent, Evan?
Yeah, I would say, I'd recommend this.
Qualified, yay.
I liked the dramatic pause.
Yeah. Yeah, very good. Well, gang, that wraps up another episode of Spoiler Piece Theater. Thank you so much for joining us. Just wanted to say that I forgot to bring up the outro checklist, everybody. So here we go. I'm going to do it from off the top of my head. We already told you about, whether we're going to recommend movies or not, so etc. I want to thank our editor, Otto Clammer. Otto, thank you for making us sound great every week.
Thank you, Otto.
Thanks, Otto.
You can find Spoiler Piece Theater anywhere you get podcasts. If you want to check us out on the interwebs through that series of tubes, we're spoilerpiece.com. We are also on Facebook, Spoiler Piece Theater. We're on Instagram, Twitter, Letterboxd, Threads, at Spoiler Piece. If you would like to get in touch with us via email to tell us other great, short, talky movies about people at strange places in their lives, you could email us, spoilerpiece@gmail.com, or you could give us a call
at 862-21-PIECE.
Give us a call and give me 5 movies that are all 87 to 93 minutes on these very subjects. I would love that. That would be amazing.
Get to it. That's your assignment.
That's your assignment, everybody. If you like the show, please consider rating and reviewing us by going to ratethispodcast.com/spoilerpiece, or you could also do that on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And if you really, really like the show, you could check out our Patreon. This week, Evan and I talked about the 1977 Robert Altman film, 3 Women in Honor of Shelley Duvall. There's a lively conversation over on patreon.com/spoilerpiece. And speaking of Patreon, we want to thank our sponsor piece patron, Heather Sachs. Heather, thank you very much for being our sponsor piece patron.
Thanks, Heather.
Thanks, Heather.
And my name is Dave Riedel. I write about movies. I'm a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association, and you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, Blue Sky, and Threads as Dave Sees Movies.
My name is Evan Crean. I'm co-chair of the Boston Online Film Critics Association, co-author of Your 80s Movie Guide to Better Living, and co-host of the It's the Pictures podcast. You can follow me on social media as Real Recon, and that's real as in film reel.
And my name is Megan Kearns. I write for Edge Media Network. I'm a co-host of the Slashers podcast. I'm also a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association and a member of Gallica. You can follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky at Opinion-S World, or on Instagram and Letterboxd at The Opinion-S.
Thanks, everyone. See you next week. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.